Hello everyone, you're welcome to this weekend's edition of the Lessons from the Scriptures segment. And today we're gonna be picking our lesson from the scriptures from the book of Genesis chapter 8 verse 22, and it says, "While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." Yes, this is so true about life generally, because life comes in seasons. As one season comes, the other seasons wait. The other seasons wait for their turn, and as this season goes away, the other season comes in turns. Just as we are in summer now, not long from this time, we're gonna have the autumn, and then the winter will be here. And that is how life works, and that's how it goes round and round. Winter, spring, summer, autumn, and winter again. In Nigeria, we have the cold season and the hot season. And generally in farming or in agriculture, there's what we call the seed time, which the scripture also rightly made mention of: the seed time and harvest time. And these different seasons they all come with their peculiar features and with various expectations. There are things that we all are expected to do at these different seasons of the year, or at the different seasons of our lives, as the case may be. For instance, during the winter time, we are all expected to put on our thick jackets, long coats, keep yourself as warm as possible so that you won't be frozen outside. Even within the house, sometimes you need to put on your heater because it gets so cold sometimes during the winter time within the house too. So these are little things that you're expected to do to keep yourself warm. And when the summer comes and it's hot, we're expected to keep ourselves away from heat, by wearing light outfits, shirts, and wearing shorts, not putting on trousers all the time. These are little things we can do to keep ourselves or protect ourselves from so much heat. Even when we go out during the daytime and it's sunny, put on your dark shades. I remember sometimes in December last year, 2025, I was somewhere in London. I went out, I was somewhere around Bexley Heath, and I was coming back, and it was so cold, freezing cold. And it felt like -1. The temperature was going to be around -1, between -1, -2, thereabouts. And thankfully, I was putting on my long jacket, and then it got a hoodie. And I was on the bus, and I had to put my hoodie on. I had to cover my face. It was so cold. It was that cold that I had to cover my face with the hoodie. And personally, I'm really, really scared of the cold. I really overprotect myself from the cold. But that very day, it was so cold that I was on the bus. Imagine being on the bus and still having to cover myself. That's the picture, over there that I took while I was on that bus. It was cold. And then this was one of the little steps that one has just got to take at that season, during that season. And then when it's hot, when the summer is here, you have to dress as light as possible so that to keep out the heat, and then get yourself as ventilated as possible. Yeah, that's it. And these were the type of clothing I put on during summertime. And during seed time, we spoke earlier about seed time, how you need to plant so that when the harvest time is here, you can harvest. Yes, the same applies to life generally. There are different seasons that you find yourself. When that season is here, you've just got to face the season and make the best of that season that is here. And once you are facing the season that is here you will also be preparing for the season that is coming. One mistake that a lot of us make most times is longing for the season that is coming ahead and hoping that the season could just come so fast and so quickly, and then we forget the things that we ought to do in this very season that we are. Sometimes it is the reverse. Reverse is usually the case. Some other times we focus so much on the season, the things that we have got to do in this very season. We get so, so engrossed, we get so absorbed in the season that we are in that we fail to prepare for the season that is coming ahead. So, either way, it's not the best to either not prepare for the season that is coming while focusing so much on the current season. It's also not good to focus too much on the season that is coming and then fail to make the best of the season at hand. I'm gonna give a personal, relatable instance. For instance, some 2 decades ago, I was still very much at home, still living with my dad, my siblings, and I remember how I just nearly used to get frustrated nearly every day. Things just used to get me angry. But things happening at home, I used to always wish that I was away from the home. I was just living all alone, living by myself, becoming independent. Even though it was a good desire to have, it was a good thing to long for. But I knew that it wasn't the right time for me. But because I was a little bit naive about how life works, I just wished, that season could come. That new stage of my life could just, fast track itself and just come. So I could just start experiencing it. But it just doesn't work that way. When it was time for me to leave home, I eventually left. And I had to start facing life all by myself. I became independent and was having to start dealing with issues of life personally by myself, which I actually longed for, that I desired to experience long before it eventually came. And that's actually the case with many teenagers, because I was actually a teenager back then. A few years back, I saw the WhatsApp status of a younger cousin of mine who said, "Oh, I can't wait to leave this home." I think she will be around 13, 14 or 15 years back then. And then I guessed her parents must have angered her, or maybe, provoked her, something like that. And then she put up the status and said, "I can't wait to leave home and start living by myself." I just smiled. I knew I had been there before. I didn't judge her, but I knew that, she was just wishing that that new season of life could just come so fast. Let it just come. Let me just get out of this place. But life, what I've come to encourage you guys with is, life doesn't work like that all the time. Every season that you find yourself, make the best of it so that you can be adequately prepared for the season that is coming ahead. Sometimes, nature expects us to attain a level of preparedness for what is to come, like character building, endurance tests, and test of financial management, the test of patience, and all these other virtues that we are expected to acquire or to attain before we move to the next level. Is like moving from one class to the other. If you haven't passed the exams that you are meant to pass for a certain class or level, you might not be able to go to the next class, the next level in your academic year. That same way it works in life. You just have to make the best of that season. Don't complain, don't do too much, and just prepare yourself all the time. I often hear young people, even adults, make this statement that say adulthood is a scam. No, I disagree with that statement. Adulthood is not a scam. But I have realized that most of the times, a lot of adults find themselves at that adulthood stage unprepared, or not having sufficient information, not having adequate information as to how things work and as to what to expect, and also not having enough information about how much challenges that wait ahead, that lie ahead, that's loom ahead in that, adulthood stage that we're heading to. So when people get to that stage, they are suddenly taken aback. They are surprised that, oh, so there's actually this much responsibility that I have got to take care of as an adult. It's just too much. It's too much. There's so much. Yeah, that is how life is. That is the stage. That is the season of life that we have gotten to. We just got to face it. But the most important thing is what we have done with our time before we get to the new stage of life that's it's coming ahead. Because whether we like it or not, that new stage will definitely still come. And when it comes, we can't afford to complain, because at least anyway we can still complain. But after you must have complained, there's nothing that you got to do than to just pick yourself up and face the challenge, and then overcome the challenge, and then become successful. That's how life works. And I noticed also, I've only been in the UK for 5 minutes, and even in this short time that I've been here, I've seen people complain about the weather. When the winter time is here, you see people make statements such as, "Oh, it's too cold. It's too cold. Ah, come on, it's too cold. The weather is too cold. Wow, why is this country too cold?" And then people start looking forward to the summertime. And then when the summer also comes, when the summer eventually comes, these same people still complain and say, "Ah, it's just too hot. It's too hot. It's scorching. There's just so much heat. There's heat wave. I just don't like it. It's just too hot." Yeah, I just smile inside of me when I hear such comments. Because you know why? Not because these things that people talk about do not affect me. They affect me too, but I've been able to learn over the years that when the new seasons of life come, we just got to face them without complaining, without saying much. Everyone has got one challenge or the other that they face in their life daily, weekly, every quarter, and every season. But the hallmark of a successful person is being able to pick oneself up and face the challenges that are facing one in the face, and then trying to find a way around those challenges and those responsibilities and move on. So in conclusion, I've just come to encourage you guys that there's definitely always gonna be seasons, different seasons of life coming, in circles. It's always gonna come: winter, spring, summer, autumn, winter, like that, hot, cold, seed time, harvest. How do we deal with each of these seasons is by continually learning about how to deal with each season of life, and not wasting our time just moaning, complaining, getting frustrated, getting aggressive because of challenges of life. Challenges are meant to face us as long as we live. All we've got to do is make the best of each season as they come, whilst we prepare for the season that is coming ahead. Years ago, I remember how a younger sister of mine finished from the university, went for NYSC service, 1 year service, postgraduate service, which is done in Nigeria. And then she complained of how she had submitted applications to different employers, and then job wasn't forthcoming. And I remember telling her that the job was eventually gonna come, that she should just make the best use of the time that she was in at that period. Read, develop yourself in different ways, do the things that you've always wanted to do. Use this period to do those things. Enjoy the best of this time. Don't go around feeling bad, feeling sad about the fact that you haven't gotten a job yet, use this time to do things that you have always wanted to do, even whilst you were in school and you didn't have enough time to do them. Do them now, because when the job eventually comes, you might not have the chance to do those things again. And then she listened to me and said, "Oh, that's good. Thanks for the advice." And then that's what she did. And not long after then, just a few months after then, the job came and she became busy. That's how life is. That's how the different stages of life come to our faces. They come at our faces so fast. So if you are not adequately prepared, they're just gonna come. The season just gonna come upon you, and then you'll be like, "How did I get here? When did this happen? When did this come?" We've got to just always be prepared, because even the scriptures has admonished us and has prepared us to know that life will always come in seasons, and then as long as the earth remains, that will be the reality. And then my question is, what are you doing with this season that you find yourself now? Are you making the best of it, or are you just going about complaining and getting frustrated about everything and not wanting to do anything to prepare for what's coming ahead? I don't think that's the best way to face the challenges, to tackle the situations that you're faced with. The best way is to just face them with enough courage, with enough positivity, optimism, and then strength, working and never getting discouraged. Keep working, keep hoping. And sometimes when we need to take a rest, when we need to slow down a little to take a rest and then go again, we need to also know. Because sometimes when we get ourselves worked up, so frustrated to the point that you might not even be able to face the season that is coming ahead if you've worked yourself up, you've burnt yourself out. So sometimes we need to take a rest and go again. Give life another try, and it will only always gonna get better. I hope someone has been inspired and encouraged by today's lesson from the scriptures. I wish you all a wonderful summer and an enjoyable winter time when it comes. Have a beautiful week ahead. God bless you all. Ciao.